serious times right now. We're back again. It's another serious one. And we told you. You know what I'm saying? We told you, lot. We told you. But before I even get into this, first of all, make sure you lot do the thing. Go onto YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like up the thing, go on Instagram, follow the page, like up the thing, and you know what to do. Big shout going out to the sponsors, them. You know who you are. Big up. Like I said, everything, what you need to know.
It's all there.
It's all there. Shout out to the previous guests, them. Was passed through the show.
Yeah.
Whole heap of guests. We're just on a roll, as you lot can see. Shout out to the people that must always giving us the feedback. And So hope everyone's good. Hope DK, you're good.
Yeah, man, good, man. You good?
Yeah, man, everything's blessed apart from Man U losing the other day, and you know what I mean, it just kind of hurt me. But we got a new manager, but don't really want to get into football. But just even before we even talk about the guests, as you can see, guest time again, big guests, different thing we are deal with. How's your week been anyway, brother, so far? Innit? It's been cool.
It's a tired one.
Tired one, innit? Yeah,
like, if you see the last episode, I had to wear the glasses, come my eyes, just tired off from work, them early mornings. But yeah, I'm good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah. Have you checked out that Jimmy Savile documentary?
Nah, I watched no TV this week.
Woo. Get time to watch that.
Yeah, I'll probably check out over the weekend.
Obviously, man knew about the whole Jimmy Savile thing, but the documentaries are
What's that on? Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. Listen, all I can say is this. I didn't know that when you're that bad, they can remove your headstone.
Oh, all right. That what they did, yeah? Yeah, I need to check that out.
When you're that bad, they remove the headstone. That bad. But yeah, Jimmy Savile thing, people check that out in here because I like that thing. It's a good documentary to watch in here. But yes, people, we're back again. It's the UK Rap Podcast Show. It's your man Cage. It's the host Cage, DJ Cage, alongside co-host DK/DJ Diamond.
Oh, we're here in the building.
We're here in the building. Like I said, it's another episode. It's a special episode. It's the one what's been requested as well by high demand. Got special guests. Yeah. Just gonna get into it. Special guests. It's about time, but yeah, got my mum, aka Amanda Mills.
Amanda in the building.
Amanda Mills in the building. Welcome to the UK Rap Podcast Show.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's a different one, mother. Yeah, so it's a different one, mother. So yeah, hope everything's okay. Yeah, how's your week been anyway?
Yeah, my week's been good. You know, it's been a bank holiday, Easter, and didn't go back to work until Tuesday. So yeah, I kind of feel like refreshed, but I'm not going to lie. You know, since going back to work since yesterday and today, it's been busy. Let's put it like that. The NHS needs a review. You know, everywhere you go, staff are saying the same thing, that there's the staff shortage. People are doing double jobs because obviously we're there to care for people. So we're not going to let the patients down. So no matter what, as much as we may not even complain, but we may make a statement, should I say, we need more staff, we need support. The government really needs to look at the NHS because it needs it. All this clapping they done 2 years ago for us.
Nobody knows.
No more.
It wasn't even clapping anyway.
But they need to, you know, at the end of the day, the NHS, we've got the best NHS in the world.
Okay.
If we lose,
you know that?
In the world.
Yeah, because free, and I don't know, no one else that really got it for free and stuff like that.
There's nowhere else in the world you're going to get the care and looked after like what you get. Because I mean, at the end of the day, people just look at it like you come into hospital, you get sick, they fix you, and you come home. You don't even think about the financial cost of one patient, how much it is for that. I mean, it's ridiculous that we have to say it like that, but that's the reality of it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, the government needs to sort that out, man. But yeah, besides that, you know, it's been a good week. It's been a great week so far.
All right. Sunny and that weather, enjoying the weather.
Yeah, of course. Well, as much as I can, you know what I mean. Sit in my garden when I come home from work and just chillax and whatever, and do what I need to do, and you know, and that's it really. Flex through the week. You kind of grind yourself through the week, and you just look forward to your Fridays, so you can just kick back and relax and do what you need to do. Yeah.
All right then. Yeah. So Mum. So like how we usually start off the show, I'm gonna hand it over to the co-host DK.
Yeah, we usually just start it, little background check so we can just build character.
Okay.
So just take it back. If you tell us like what school you went to, where you was born,
Okay,
what
so
your upbringing was like. That sort of thing.
how long is the show?
We're taking it back. We're taking it back, Mum.
Okay.
Talk to them.
Okay, so can I just make a shout out first on the
Yeah.
beginning? Okay, I just wanted to shout out my crew because, AKA I am Black is Beautiful, Sister Black is Beautiful from Trice's Nice Crew. So I just want to shout out my crew members also. You know what I mean?
Big them up,
Most
big them up.
definitely. And also, most of all, want to give thanks and praises to the Most High, for blessing us all to be here today. I don't take nothing for granted at all because, here today, gone tomorrow, could go to bed able-bodied and to wake up next day unable-bodied. So I just kind of recognize and I just give the Most High his praise at all times because I know that that's what he deserves. So, where was I? I was born...
Always comes up. Yeah. All the time. So first then, when we talk about obviously where you was born. Obviously I know these things, but yeah, man, where you was born, what school you went to, and what was household like?
So I was born in Gloucester right here in OGE, Gloucester. So I'm an original Don, you know what I mean? I'm an OG girl. I'm an OG queen. It's my crown.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, for real. So, born and raised in Gloucester by my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Mills. My parents are from Jamaica. And I'm like the first generation of my parents who came over, from them just after the Windrush, let's say, because Mummy and Daddy is of that age, let's say.
Okay.
But they flew here. They did not come on a boat.
All right.
A ship, should I say, not a boat.
Okay.
So I'm the first generation, basically, from my parents coming here from back in the 60s, 50s. And Gloucester was cool growing up, you know what I mean? There was less black people here than we have now. When I mean black people, I said now we've got Africans, we've got Somalians, you got people from all over the world. It's a very wide, community, diverse community we have now. But growing up, I remember it was just, you just knew, well, basically our parents didn't let us go anywhere but to family homes. So if Mummy and Daddy was going out, when that was very rare because, most people who came to England from Jamaica at the time when my parents did, a lot of the people lived at 7 Arthur Street. A lot of maybe your father, your family, trust me, a lot of people started off, they either went to Swindon, Birmingham, and when they're the ones who, and you find as well that in Gloucester, you find a lot of St. Catherine people. So you find that obviously from when they were coming over, migrating over, they obviously went to the same area. So we have quite a large community from St. Catherine, and that's the elder generation, like Mummy's age and so forth, trickle down, so to speak. So a lot of people back in them days, at my parents' house, as you know, Domain, it's a 3-story house. Every room was a bedroom. So where you got the living diner, it wasn't like that. It was bedroom. It was a bedroom and a bedroom. So basically, me growing up now, when I was as young as I can remember, I've always lived in a house full of people because my parents used to rent the upstairs. So there was 3 families living upstairs in the 3 bedrooms. So it was different then. It was a nice time. Gloucester was
busy.
Yeah, it was busy, but it was nice. It was nice. It was nice then, because like I said, from the age of 5, I'm going to say inside the home. Outside the home at 5 and onwards was different. But inside the home, it was nice. It was almost like, because blues party used to go on nearly every Saturday. Me and my sister used to sit on the top of the stairs with our platter pet and our dressing gown, listening to, back then Daddy used to play. But then you had the.
How about siblings? How many sisters?
So I've got 3 sisters and 1 brother. I'm the youngest.
Shout out auntie and uncle them.
Yes, of course. Big up to my sisters, my siblings, Angela, Bobsy and Elaine down in London. And of course, my brother over there in Jamaica. So, but I grew up with just me and my sister Angela. Bobsy and Elaine didn't come. Elaine, I believed Elaine came first, and she was 16 when she came to England, and I think Bobsy was here at 17 because you could bring them across. Mummy left them in Jamaica for the nan to raise them. For them to come over, you had to get them over by 18, I believe, at them times there. So it was kind of a bit strange. Though I met them when I was 4, when I first went to Jamaica, I didn't see them again until when they came over many years later. So it was kind of strange. It was just me and Angela, and then Elaine came, and then Bobsy came afterwards. So it was kind of a bit strange, but I embraced it because I'm a young girl, so they're my bigger sisters. I'm not going to think, what are you going to think when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, but run up and dog and play and run a shot go by sweetie. There's nothing more really.
Yeah. Fully excited to see them, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So, family life was a good life. Obviously, every family you have your situations, but as a family unit, my dad was a true Don Gargan, and he still is. It's only because of his age and his little ailments that stops him. But my dad was a proper, don't mess with daddy, man. Daddy, listen, the fact that, as I said,
know what you're saying, daddy, so what's his
Thomas, yes,
right,
a.k.a. Thomas Mills.
Yeah.
Thomas Mills was a bad man. I don't mean bad man as in going out and troubling people. But daddy, don't play with his family. Don't play with his girls. And don't play with his baby girl. But yeah, don't play with his daddy and daddy was a real man's man, tough man, nah, don't mess, don't rap, don't talk too much. And when him did talk, say it's trouble. So you just don't, daddy walk around with machete in a car, them days, them no business. Them I drive around with machete because no man, don't try to mess with my dad. My dad was a rude boy.
So what's this, what years we're talking, what 70s?
So this is, trust me, 70s. 80s.
All right.
It's only when daddy kind of took sick, daddy realised that he ain't no rude boy like that no more. That's when he realised you not got this, there's no more the cylinder now fire, there's nothing now go on like what it used to go on no more. Him no say him have to pull down him chest a little bit because him no say if something come, him can't manage it, really and truly. True. In his head he thinks he can, but his body wouldn't be able to tackle nobody. If a young man come trouble him don't know say. You know what I mean? But back in the days, daddy would ask him, daddy would beg him to come man, me why you to come, daddy would say to the person. Yeah, so life was nice. Life was nice. The downside to life growing up from the age of 5 to say 11 is what I remember very strongly at that time was because racism was strong then. Back in the 70s, racism was bad, National Front, and the names that we used to get called back in school days.
Yeah, read off the names.
It was nothing for to hear Blackjack, Blackie, Dirty.
Blackjack.
Yeah. Because
that's why they're probably done with them suits.
Yeah, Blackjack, Dirty. Used to think they see, oh, you're black because you don't wash, you're filthy and nigger, and it's not from kids, it's from adults.
Oh.
So I grew up. I felt safe within my home, but coming out of the home between 5 and 11, I felt scared because of the I was aware that I was different. They made sure I knew that.
Right.
They made sure that I knew that from I was at infant school.
So like from back in the early 70s, Gloucester was like predominantly racist.
Yeah, because the community wasn't
like
as
Gloucestershire.
More dominant white people than
it was predominantly. Obviously you had black people, but because it's almost like, because remember, though my parents came here in the late 50s. And then I'm born now late 60s, early 70s. Racism was still very strong then. It was very, very, very... It's hard to imagine that racism was that strong.
That's without social media.
Because we're not talking about... That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to imagine when you think about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and even if you go back further of all the people who fought for our rights, you know what I'm saying? That was in like the 40s and 30s, and I'm talking about the 70s. So in 30 years,
still going
the
on.
fact that me as that generation being a child had to go through that, which I'm not going to lie, it affected me. It made me. You have to be tough when you're young and you're faced with adversary, especially when you're a little bit and you notice that you're different and you notice that it's not just one person calling you a name.
When did you first realise you was different sort of thing?
Like I said, as soon as I left the family home at 4 and went to school, by the time I was 4 and I went to school, it was leaving the safety of my home up until I was 4. And then going to school knowing that I was different because of how I was called. Nobody done nothing about it. Yeah. And even the teachers, when you look back, you think about some of the things you knew you was treated differently, and there was never a black person in the front of the class. Never.
Yeah, I'd sit at the back and...
Always at the back. So, you know, it's no different than being in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So the one at the back of the class, they don't business what they're doing at the back because they ain't got no interest in you
just
whatsoever.
leave you to
your own
it.
devices. So it's almost like they didn't want you to progress from when you were little, from the seed was little. So, and it wasn't even just that. It was the fact of racism was everywhere. Do you know what I mean? We had the National Front to deal with. So I remember, you know, being young and because them days, you know, children nowadays are so privileged, you know, they don't walk to school. I never got a lift to school in all my schooling life. From the age of 4 to leaving school at 16. I never got a lift from my dad because my mum don't drive, or did I ever catch a bus. I don't even think I cycled to work. I walked these 2 foot of mine from school.
So what
So I went to St Paul's School on New Street.
Okay.
That was my junior school. And then I went to
legendary school.
But now it's called,
Legendary.
very legendary
Why?
indeed.
But why is it so like back then? Because even like you're saying, you went to St Paul's, then I went to St Paul's. I met him through St Paul's.
Yeah.
I met quite a lot of the black kids through St Paul's.
Yeah.
Was
Centralised.
that a popular school back then for the black?
No. I think it was just a centralised school if you lived by the park areas, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, that's all I can say because I mean, at them once again at them age, you ain't even thinking, attachment area. It wasn't about attachment area. It was just the fact that this was a school near your yard, and that was it. You know, if it was near your granny, Osa, whatever, that's the school you're going to because we can drop off the kids there and do. It was just about convenience, but we lived by the school, so that's why we went there. Right. You know, but it was the fact of National Front was rife. Skinheads used to scare me, and they were everywhere. You see them because they were identifiable.
Dr.
Martens, you know, the Union Jacks, skinheads, and the bomber jackets, and you know, they're giving it all that. And even if you're a kid, they'd be like, "What are you looking at?" You know, I remember being for real. Like this one time, it was me and you know, once Angela left, my sister, because she's 2 years older than me. Once she left me at school, and I had to do that walk myself for them 2 years. It weren't no joke thing because remember walking to the park them days. And them days it was different, but where it is now. So you had that. We had a big iron bridge we had to go over from Western Road. Is it Western Road? And we had a stream, and we used to have the brook where all the kids used to go. We swing across the brook and it roared. But yeah, man, those were good days, man. Seriously, I remember them days. But the thing is, like I said, when I had to walk to school on my own, you know, from the age of 9 to 11, and winter when it gets dark. And all them things. I remember skinheads. I'm frightened of skinheads and going through the park. I don't even know how my parents allowed. When you think about it, remember I'm a girl child, innit? And bearing in mind, it was just me and Angela walking to school from I'm 4 and Angela's 6.
Was Granddad driving though back then?
Daddy gonna walk.
Okay.
And I have to bring the food pan the table and everything, you know, because Mummy worked part time because she's looking after the kids. You know. But yeah, when you think about it, between the age of 4 and 2, a 4-year-old and 6-year-old, we allow your 4-year-old and 6-year-old today to walk from Arthur Street to New Street.
No way.
Through the park, 2 girls, every day, 5 days a week, every month, 12 months.
So like the National Front, like the NF, the bar led them.
They used to scare us.
They were just in the park?
They were wherever they are, you see them. Yeah, you could imagine if you walk from New Street to Arthur Street and you could, on that journey, if you pass somebody who don't like black people, they're going to make a comment.
Oh, so they never used to run?
One time I got chased.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
One time I got chased.
Okay.
And then I remember Daddy going out looking for them. Yeah, Daddy went out looking for them, for real. No jokes. But yeah, that wasn't a nice time. And it made me, probably made me into an angry person when I was young.
Okay.
To be quite honest. And it made me have negative views against white people because they showed me no love.
Did any of your friends as well experience it as well? Quite a lot of your friends?
Well, at school it was just me and Ange. I actually can't even remember having black friends.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
Raw.
I can't remember being at school, in infant school, with any black friends.
Crazy.
Heather West was my friend.
Okay. And
Heather West who died.
People who don't know who Heather West is.
I stayed round the house one night.
That's crazy.
That's Mr. West. See what I'm saying? So this is Mr. West's.
I
Fred
literally
West's
was.
daughter.
I
Fred
was
and
about
Rose
7
West.
or 8 years old, and I remember it to this day. I remember sleeping on the floor in the house. I remember, as I said, me and Heather were friends, and I remember her being at school one day, and I
So you're saying
remember
that's the one what he never. Oh,
the one his daughter he buried her under the patio.
Okay.
And I remember we used to play, like I said, I don't even know how, that's the only house I ever slept out of besides family, the Hutchinsons. That's the only home I slept out, was one night I slept at Fred West's house.
Rotted.
Crazy.
On the floor with the rest of the kids.
Pray the Lord, innit? Yeah. Pray the Lord differently.
For real, for real.
Yo.
But, besides that, as I said, and then obviously by the time I hit secondary school, which was Winifred Cullis, which is now called
Barnwood
Park, I was formed. I was formed at 11. I was just a militant girl by then. And it's because of, I think it naturally, I had to be tough. Because I had no choice when I was walking to school them 2 years on my own. Do you know what I mean?
You're saying secondary school is a bit different? Secondary
school was a bit different because it's an all-girls school. I went to an all-girls school. And
what's this, like the early 80s we're talking now?
Yeah, 80, yeah.
So what type of music was running then?
Back then I was into Rasta, cultural music, Gregory Isaac, Bob Marley, all them old tunes there, you know what I'm saying? Reggae music was the main core in my house. But of course you had Motown because mummy liked Diana Ross and all them American artists, and you was always excited when you used to see a little black person on telly. It's like you call the whole house, hey, there's a black person on TV. Do you know what I mean? If you had phone in the house, you'd even ring your cousin to say, there's somebody black on TV, because you're so glad to see somebody black on TV because it wasn't seen. Do you know what I'm saying? But growing up, black was not cool. It's sad to say. It wasn't cool. It was something that between the ages of 4 to 11, it was almost because of the mental, what they projected to me, it's almost like they nearly turned me against my own self.
Okay.
Because, when they used to say stuff like, oh, you're black because you don't wash. I remember being young at the age of 7, because you don't know no different.
Right. Hearing
those things constantly, scrubbing yourself, thinking that your skin's going to literally change if you scrub yourself in the bath. But it wasn't changing nowhere. It's just, all you do, just rub yourself to your skin raw.
Yeah, for real.
Literally. So that mental conditioning that they done to me, or I didn't subconsciously know it was happening, because obviously it's just life experience. It's only as an adult now I can look back and say to myself, that was real, that was awful. Do you know what I'm saying? For people that you left, people that's supposed to be there to teach you, and yet still they didn't even give you a chance because of their prejudice, and which they brought into their role, and which nowadays that can't go on, because if you knew a teacher had anybody who's got any form of prejudice against somebody, that where you put yourself in a position where you're caring or looking after somebody else, you cannot be in a job with them biased views.
That's true.
It's unacceptable.
That's true.
Unacceptable.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to, whether you want to believe it or not, at some stage you're going to, those views are going to seep through. So you can't say you've got these nasty little views and yet still you don't like Indian people or black people or this and this. No, that don't work. You don't have them jobs. Go find yourself in a little corner shop and serve sweetie, like we did by Chris and Sweetie round them the type of shop. You know what I'm saying? You don't put yourself in them sort of jobs, social services and all them community jobs, midwife, if you ain't got that proper, genuine, caring attitude. So teachers are just the same. They're looking after our kids. Look how long your children are at school each day. And if you got some teacher that's always going at your child, and you don't know how long that child's with that teacher for a year. After a year, you don't know what seed they plant in that child's head with their negativity because of their views. Nah, man, you have to dash out them teachers. They shouldn't be in them places there. Seriously. And that's why I feel so strong about it, because I know what it done to me. But from the age of 11, as I said, Winifred Cullis, so I went to all-girls school. Once again, I went out, I was ready. I was a rebel.
You're saying like enough of the black sisters did they?
Yeah, of course, man.
So we all link up now.
Yeah, man. We had our crew. There was 13 of us. You know what I'm saying? There was 13 of us, and we rode from year 1 right to year 5. Believe you me, we all have strike. Shut down the whole school one time. I walk out. Yeah, and I tell you what, every time, every trouble, there was a list. It's almost that they flick the list, and names always guaranteed at the top. Amanda Mills, Samantha Jackson, Janet Sayers, Dorothy Hutchinson, Elaine Brissett. It just keeps going on. But, Olive Thomas, Samantha, I forgot, we had an English girl, Samantha Lynch. I can't even remember everybody, but trust me, the main ones, we was a force to be reckoned with, I'm not going to lie.
Fun times.
from times, man, like I said, we just done our thing. And I think because, once again, I go to secondary school, I got kicked out of my history lesson because I refused to hear that rubbish. Like I said, by the time I went to secondary school, I was militant. Them telling me about all I am is a slave. You're there in a classroom, they're teaching you about history, and nothing they can tell you about the black people is they show you a big picture of shackles and chains and we were slaves. They can't even say nothing else.
I think even when I was even at secondary school, throughout history lessons now, even when I'm thinking.
They never taught us that where you came from, kings and queens and all this kind of stuff.
It was a slavery thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it didn't go back no further than that.
I don't think it's a slavery thing now, innit? And it can't be.
No, it can't be now.
No.
There's too many black heroes and all these things right now.
You can Google and all that now as well, so...
It's a shame my memory don't serve me right with all the names, but the point is, all I know is they was telling me some foolishness. And I think what made it worse was I remember watching Roots when I was young.
Okay.
I remember when you watch Roots... Trust me, it's that probably
brings something out of you.
Yes,
you just want to do something.
When you watch Roots, you're not supposed to go to work or school the next day.
You're
probably
angry.
Next week. So no, I remember and I kind of was standing up for us, saying, "No, we're more than that," and he wouldn't have it, and he told me to shut up and sit down and do it. And I said, "No, I'm not having it," and he said me to get out and don't come back. I said, "I want to come to your dirty lesson." And for the years that I was there, I sat in that corridor outside lesson, and I would not go back in.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So luckily back then, as you said, any letter that was being sent to my mother's home to report my behaviour, either one, retrieve it before,
Of course.
yes, or if they give you a letter to give to your parents, it just never gets home. Do you know what I mean? So so secondary school to me was good because we had our crew, and I felt like I was in a group, so we're protected.
Felt more safe now.
Yes. So you're safer in numbers, you know what I mean? So it's sad to think that now that I look back, it was all about protection, if that makes sense. And when you shouldn't have to think about that, because, with my grandsons, I'd hate to think that Jam doesn't feel safe in this day and age. Do you know what I mean? That he has to form himself into a group to feel safe. He should be safe on his own. Nobody should look at him and trouble him because of the colour of his skin. But sad to say, we do live in a society where we've got ignorant people, wicked, evil people who still have those dirty views. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all we can do is empower each other so that when any fool tried to come to you, and that's what I say to Jam, because he's at the age of understanding. So that's why it's a priority for me, and maybe that's why it's so much a passion for me, because I don't want him to have those experiences. I want him to know that he comes from a higher place than those who are looking down on him. You know what I mean? I want him to feel proud of his heritage, of his history, so that nobody can make him feel inferior to them. Because that's how I felt, basically. I felt inferior when I shouldn't have felt inferior, because now it's all about us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything is about us now. From our head to our foot is about black. They can't get enough of us. We was always, to be quite honest, because we are the children of Israel. So they've tried to suppress that. That's why they have so much things in the Vatican. Well, lock up things in the Vatican for to make people know. It's because say everything.
We don't want to get locked off, you know. Cool.
No, but we only got the books in there, though. We only got the books in there, though.
That's how I am. And probably that's why, and that's why that fire is within me. Obviously, it comes from my great grandfather and so forth, and grandmother. But the fire is within me because of my past, so to speak.
So you never missed. So when did you start connecting with your brother, I should so say then?
So when I first met him when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I knew I had a brother.
Back and forth.
I went to Jamaica when I was 4, and then the second time I went was when I was 19, and I took you when he was 2. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I loved Jamaica. I fell in love with Jamaica until I even remember one time, me, I've always I want to live in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. So to me, I feel home in Jamaica. I feel amongst my own people, So that will always, though I'm born here, my blood is African at the end of the day, what I'm saying?
Of course.
So, I will always, this is, the Caribbean hot country is what my melanin needs, you know what I'm saying? So
besides uncle and that, What was the you're hitting like 15, those ages there. What was the nightlife saying? Like back then, like the nightclubs were obviously what I know, but what was the main thing going on back then?
Okay, so for me, the main thing going on was church.
Yeah,
Because I wasn't going out.
Okay.
We didn't go
Okay.
out. Tell a lie.
You must have.
I snuck out, so I can say it now. So I probably snuck out. I'm grown because mummy and daddy can't do me nothing.
They don't watch YouTube.
Yeah. But
No,
yeah,
watch
back then it
YouTube.
was Tiffany's, I believe.
Okay.
Snobs. So you know where Ricknell is, and you had that club just opposite where.
Snobs is old school. Yeah, Brunswick.
But they've turned it into flats now.
Yeah.
They've turned it into round by there.
Where's
By the
Tiffany's
park.
then? So where was Tiffany's?
Tiffany's was by GL1, them places. Cinderella's, it used to be called back them days. Cinderella's, yeah. But I wasn't old enough to go out.
Wow.
So I didn't, and besides, but even through all my story that I just said, from the age of 7, my auntie Lynn, she was going to church, Seventh-day Church of God. So from the age of 7, I remember the first time Auntie Lynn invited me and my sister Angela to church, and I loved it. I loved the unity and I just loved everything that was happening. So from the age of 7, I made a conscious decision, like, oh, Auntie, I want to come back next week, and from then I never stopped going, and that's how I started going to church.
I remember those
Yeah.
times. I remember.
So because I was in church, let's say, I wasn't baptized, but I was just a young woman going to church. Nightclubs didn't interest me. Going out like that didn't interest me. It really didn't.
What about Auntie?
Auntie Angela did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she was going to. Yeah, she was going to.
Party
Yeah, of course she was. She was going to Cinderella. But I did sneak out to go to one of the clubs, Tiffany's or something like that. I was about 13 or whatever. I remember, I don't know, I snuck out and,
What, to Big People's Night?
No, to a teenager.
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't mix with big people back in our days. You're mad. Teenagers. We stick to our own. We don't mix with big people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? No, we stick to our young things. We didn't. I wasn't going out, but when we just didn't mix like that. We just didn't mix like that. So, and then obviously, by the age of 16, I'm pregnant. That's why we should have Tanami yard. But it's a good thing we never had Tanami yard, because then I wouldn't have you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, that's how it is. I went to, after finished school and everything else, and your dad. Your dad was kind of, your dad was in the picture. I first met your dad like visually at the age of 12.
Okay.
When he used to work around the corner on Como Street down the bottom with Trevor Bonney at the garage, because he'd done a little mechanic work down there. So, but then obviously, that was just little 12-year-olds. Oh yeah, and obviously your dad being 6 years older than me, being 18, don't focus in one mind like that, because I'm 12. Not like what the 12-year-olds are like nowadays.
No, yeah.
So we were different.
Yeah.
It was different back then.
Yeah.
Really was about book, pen and paper and sweetie and nap friend play hopscotch and kiss tag and them foolishness.
Okay.
Even at that age. And at that time as well, we always had animals in our house at Arthur Street. We grew up with animals, believe it or not. Townhouse it was.
Chickens.
We had chicken, goat, guinea pig, cats, not all at one time, parrots. Yeah, dogs.
Son,
we always
come
had
like
dogs.
Jumanji.
Yeah, but mummy used to, when mummy come from Jamaica, because she comes from country, remember, so they used to,
Yeah.
so mummy used to have the chickens down the bottom of the garden, and the
I
chicken
remember
hutch.
the chickens.
And mummy used to sell the egg them. So mummy did a hustle. Mummy was a little hustler, you know what I mean? Hustling her things, yeah, because back in the days as well, back in the 70s, the black women them used to like this crochet all over their house. Your nans, them have this crochet, they're like mats and crochet upon top of the table, crochet upon the cabinet, crochet.
Everywhere.
Crochet everywhere. But these, the women them, they had this style, the Jamaican women, where them starch it. So them starch it. Remember, mummy, I starch it, then dip it, and then them stick it up in a style. And trust me, these things sold. That's how they done their hustle, because black women pride on their house, because they had the front room back them days. Nobody allowed to go into the front room.
I remember we used to have like a one double door.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
You can only just stay in
Yeah,
one
you're not
side.
allowed in the front room because front room was
You
guests.
couldn't enter the other
Never.
side, you know.
Why was that back in the days? Like, no one couldn't go in the front room.
Because the front room.
Because was always the room you couldn't go in.
No, because Pitney weren't allowed in the front room. Yeah, because the front room was for
go
when
in
you have
there.
big people come and you need
Okay.
to, big people talk, and it's your guest room, it's pretty nice
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Different
clean,
now.
tidy.
Different now.
You don't bring your
Different.
guests into the room where your family are run up and down in and everything. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why you
yeah.
had your
I get
good
that, I get that.
furniture, stay Chris all the time, setting the brock down out, you know, everything. So that's why you have your front room, and I think it's a good thing. I like that old school ways. Some of those old school ways are good, man. Seriously, but yeah. So obviously, once I left school, you know, stayed at school, done my CSCs back then, took 5 CSCs, done pretty well actually. You know, back then it would be equivalent to I had 3 A's and 2 B's back then. So, but you know, as fate had it, I was pregnant, left school in July, and by September I'm pregnant with you.
Okay.
So, you know, that was a bit of a shocker, I'm not going to lie, because back then it was like, you know, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's probably...
Because like, what was your dreams before that? Like, you know, like back at school, what did you want to be? Like a nurse? You know,
they
doctor?
never drilled those things
It was-
into our heads.
It wasn't like that.
They never
It
drilled.
wasn't like that.
Not necessarily, because, you know, because you thought, okay, do I want to go to college? But when you went to see your careers teacher, she only encouraged you to work in a factory.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they didn't encourage us to do good jobs. Reception, maybe.
Okay.
You know, because I done a little bit of typewriting back then. It wasn't even IT back in them days. It was called, I took a RSA exam, typewriting. So, but they didn't encourage you to be doctors, lawyers.
It was nothing like that.
No, nothing of professional
Yeah,
standards.
so they brought that in probably the generation after.
So even in the
I understand.
80s, the mental suppression with the black people was still being conducted because they wasn't encouraging us to do any other job but work in a factory or
True.
be a receptionist. When of
True.
course we could have been anything in the world you want to be.
True.
So I don't know. I don't know. I was mixed with church, running up and down and just playing. You know, I was kids. Back then, kids were kids. All you want to do is just play. You know what I'm saying, and have fun. You're not even thinking about, oh, what am I going to be? Because you're just thinking you're too young to.
So like, what was my dad like back then? Like, what was the fashion and that back then? Was he like a barlid, dread man?
Your dad was just about locks in, and back then Cecil G was back. Cecil G was a thing that the Rasta man with their Cecil G shirt or their top, and they're wearing their Clark shoes,
It was like that, yeah. All right,
and their
okay.
shiny trousers. You know what I mean? Very rare.
Proper step out.
Yeah.
Proper step out.
Yeah, proper step out. That's how they used to wear. I don't even think I could ever remember your dad wearing a pair of jeans. Never. Can I even think I could never? I don't even think I ever saw him in a pair of jeans. I don't think I did. Back then, they didn't wear jeans like that.
Yeah.
No.
Trousers.
You wear trousers.
Trousers and trainers. You know, like off the movie Babylon.
Not even trainers.
You know, Babylon,
I can't
innit?
even remember your Clarks. The thing.
Clark's been in fashion for years.
For donkey's years. But like I said, I wasn't into the soul side of things back then. I was still into reggae music. It's only, I was pure reggae music up until the age of 18, and I started flicking over into a bit of soul. And then, obviously, like I said, Motown and whatever, Jacksons and all that. But reggae music's dominant all the way, like all the way.
Was that all my dad was listening to? Just reggae.
Your dad, I'm Studio One, because I remember your dad used to live on Parliament Street on the top floor. Then this is probably why I didn't go out to play, because by the age of 15, I remember Lord, we can't say it, no. I remember I skipped school one time, and I remember, your dad, because he was in a sound in stereo downbeat. So it was Fats and Williams, his cousin, I forgot the other name. Rope was in there. So Fats, Rope, Steps.
Yeah, big up Father Rope.
Yeah,
big
Trevor
up,
Bonny.
big up.
And your dad was called Daddy B. So they were all in, and Tony as well, Tony Williams.
Yeah,
They were
big 'em
all,
up, big 'em up.
they were
Big
all
them
in the
all up.
sounds. And back then, like you
So
had.
he's always had that name, Daddy B.
Yeah. And back then, there was quite a few sounds in Gloucester. So you had Ninja Magic, and then you had Sculford had his little sound as well. So back then, it was really, we were very cultured teenagers It was all about owning our culture. Maybe because most of us kind of went through that suppression. Maybe because, you know what I mean, similar experiences. That when Rasta came in, I embraced it because I identified with the image.
Was everybody Rasta back then?
No, because back then to be Rasta, it wasn't accepted by some people in our community, including my own mother. Back then we used to, have ebonies.
In a Rasta.
They're not denying it because the image that they had of Rastas with some people was that they were people that don't. Once again, it reminds me of what was said. They don't wash because of the dreads and it doesn't. We're no say no gosso. So at the end of the day, we had ebonies. Ebonies is where the car park is now. Round the corner from my miss. Yeah. So you still got some of the building there, actually. It's still, the original building is still there. But Ebony used to be a place where...
Where's that? Mandela you're talking?
Yeah. Ebony's used to be a black social club there where the man's...
Yeah?
Back there. Those in the community, my age and maybe a bit younger, definitely older, will all... your mum, everybody's going to remember Ebony. Back in... It was almost like Jamaican club, but
Ebony's,
not...
Ebony's Agwan.
But it was a social club. You know, the guys used to go there and play snooker, and obviously, you know, back then, obviously, when Rasta first, reggae music and roots music,
must have been crazy.
Yeah, so we embraced it. You see, so yes, your dad was, you know, he was just starting to locks and everything else, but he wasn't like, you know, obviously people identify locks with Ras and everything else, but he wasn't like Ras where Selassie or like 12 tribe or nothing like that. He was just cultured and, you know, just doing their thing as most of them guys, you know, Wally put all them brothers, like even God rest his soul, Junior Morgan, you know, I remember, do you know what I mean? We used to sit down and reason, and back in them days, people used to reason and people were interested in knowing the truth, if that makes sense. Like you'd have a group of people that would meet up and read the Maccabee Bible, and you'd have somebody who will interpretate and you reason about a verse or whatever, and you know, you just have a spiritual uplifting, you know what I mean? That's what I loved about Rastafarism. It's about the unity. It's all about the unity of one.
And that's what they don't really see, innit?
Yeah, and back in them days, you know, like I said, people used to reason, like for real, like we used to gather and reason and talk about the stuff we were learning that we didn't know when we were growing up, and, you know, talk about the Bible and interpretations and things like this. And as I said, most people wanted a Maccabee Bible, because I wanted one, I remember, but it was hard to get a Maccabee Bible because the Maccabee Bible is not like the King James Version Bible. Maccabee Bible, they say it originates from the original scribes and how it was written. So unless you've got the wisdom of, because, you know, you can pick up the Bible, if you bring the King James Bible to the new versions, you have to read it with an open mind and have that kind of inner place, because the way it's written, sometimes if you don't read it properly, you think that certain things conflict what it says within the Bible, but that's why you have to read it with a conscious mind. Rather
I'm not
than
really
just...
too deep in all them things. They're still on them, like the religion thing. I'm kind of gone. Yeah, kind of like, obviously I believe in a God and all them sitting there, Allah and all them sitting there, but I just believe in just the Almighty, just one, innit?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Just that.
Different denominations, that's what it is. That's what it is. So, you know, like I said, but, so your dad was, you know, he had swag, of course, you know what I mean? He used to drive the Volvo. Yeah, he used to drive a Volvo and everything else. So, you know, obviously, like I said, you know, by the age of 15, I met your father more frequently, let's say. And then obviously, you know, by the age of 16, I was pregnant with you. And, you know, back then in the 84, it was gasp. You know, how it never hit the 10 o'clock news, you know what I mean? You know, 10 o'clock news, CNN and BBC, whatever. Because back days, that, you know, there was a big stigma. They was thinking that...
Yeah, because what was it like? Because, well, for the black woman them, around that era, like between 1980 and 85, like I said, enough of my brethren them, around my age, as well, obviously, some of them are born around my... What was it like then? Like, how did the parents look upon it? Like, how was it like? You know what I mean? Like now, over the years, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, young girls just getting pregnant. You know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't.
Was there a bad stereotype on it?
Well,
for the young black woman them? Because obviously there must have been like loads of black women then was pregnant around that era. Loads.
It's just coincidental that it was.
Enough blues are gone.
Yeah, but I think back then more the stigma was obviously to do with the social stigma,
right.
you know, where they thought, you know, young girls are just getting pregnant to get flats, to get in places.
Okay.
Because who was in power then, if you don't mind me asking? Was it John Major?
To be quite honest with you, Jermaine, back in them days, politics didn't interest me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it wasn't Major, it was somebody else. Because Major was later, wasn't he? I think. Right. You might be right, but politics interest me now. Politics did not interest me then.
Okay,
not at all.
So they just go on with the same like.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't just black women. It was all over media. You know, young girls getting pregnant just to get council flats, council houses. Right. And obviously it was. Obviously my parents was upset because obviously they probably saw a brighter future for me as a young person rather than having a child. But, you know, big up to my parents because, you know, at the end of the day, they supported me through everything because I didn't finally leave home until I was 25. Do you know what I mean? Until I literally thought, come on, Amanda, you're a big woman now. It's time for you to leave home. You know what I mean? So, you know, my parents, they were disappointed, but they supported me through thick and thin from the beginning. You know what I mean? And really and truly, without their support, I don't know how I would have really have done it because, you know, as you know, I had you at such a young age. And it's not, when I look back, I know a lot of girls of the age of, well, I don't know a lot of girls, but you hear of a lot of girls who have children under the age of 18. And I don't know how they do it on their own because it ain't easy having a baby. You're really just learning about life. So it's a child having a child.
Because I guess for you as well, DK, like the same era in that, innit? So was it just you and Mumsy as well? Or was Pops as well? Don't mind man asking.
Yeah, he's there like this in and out. It is there. Yeah. Yeah, some days not there.
Yeah.
Until certain age, you just weren't there.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was like back then, though, innit?
Well, not for everyone,
but it was kind of rare, though, innit? Like,
but yeah, you didn't. For my age group back then, who were having children, out of, let's say hypothetically, out of 10 of us, there wasn't much who were, like, say, married. None at all, in matter of fact. So, you know, it is what it is, if that makes sense. You know? Because, you know, well, you know, Domain, you know, you're right, DJ Cage. All right, Cage. You know, at the end of the day, you know, me and your father didn't live together or anything.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, as just probably with yourself, you know, you had the support of the extended family.
Yeah.
You know, because without Papa, like, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, you know, when you was born, you know, that was like one of the happiest moments for my dad as well, because, you know, I gave Daddy the son he never kind of never had.
Of course.
You know, because my dad's got all girls. So maybe that's why, and obviously living at home, and that's why my parents were so attached to you from you were born. Because I even remember one time when I was, you know, when he was, I don't know, a couple of months old, I was thinking, gosh, whose baby is it anyway? So like, it was my baby. You know what I mean? Because Mummy and Daddy just wanted to consume you, you know? It's my baby. But looking back, obviously, without their support, you know, because I started working at a very young age as well.
I was just going to say, tell the people
I
more about,
started working at Birdseye Walls when you started with 6 months because, you know, being a single parent, I had, though my pa was living at home, one thing my parents said to me, you know, you have this baby, you are support this baby, you know what I mean? Which taught me well, because maybe if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. Do you know what I mean? So I started working from the age of 17 when you were 6 months old. And then by the time I was 18, I was full into night shift work. Do you know what I mean? Just to earn that extra money. And I remember, do you know what I mean? So I used to go, when I was working nights, I mean, you was only a baby once. So I used to go and do my night shifts, Mummy and Daddy over at night. I'd come home from work. I used to sleep when you slept. I don't even, when you think about how did you work a night shift, sleep when you sleep. So baby sleep, me sleep. Wake up when baby wake up. And then when Mummy comes home from work, because she worked part-time, then Mummy would take over for you. And then I'd have a couple hours sleep before I start work at 9 o'clock or 6.
Right.
And that continued for 16 years.
Right.
which is, you know, when I look back, I think if I could change certain things, I would probably change that part of my life, because obviously being maturer, I would have done things differently. Working nights at such a young age and having such a young baby, even though my baby was with my mum and dad in the same house I lived in, I would have probably done things differently because I know differently now, so to speak. But I'm grateful my parents was there to have you. I left you with them, you know what I mean? But yeah, I done nights. I worked at Walls for 16 years. 16 years I worked there. And, you know, through growing up as a woman and, you know, obviously working, which was I was able to maintain myself and maintain you, which then gave me the sense of empowerment, because then I could look after myself, even though I was living under my mum's roof, but I still looked after myself. And then I left home at 25, then went into a housing association. I remember that property, you know, Harbury Mews, the house just got built, and then you was 9, we just moved there. And stayed there for a bit, and then I bought my house, went for a mortgage when I was 27 years old. So I was quite proud of that, because, you know, I was the first one in my family as the girls to you know, buy a property, because my parents encouraged me not to give my money to the people who I'm renting off, because it's a fit them property, and I fit them. You are paid after them. So if anything, you know, no, that's how my and daddy was. You know, daddy, even though I was a girl child, daddy taught me how to paint, change a tire, check the oil, jack a car up. Do you know what I mean? Daddy taught me man things, and mummy taught me woman things. So that's why I said I was just equipped, you know. So yeah, so that was kind of like how it was, and it left home. Still at Birdseye Walls, as I said, 16 years, bought my first house. And then, you know, later on in life, I'm now into my 30s. That's when Janai comes along. And that's when I decide to leave Walls. Because, you know...
Shout out, little bro.
Yeah.
Big you up.
Yeah, so that's when I decided to leave Walls, because like I said, I knew then, being mature at 32, that I didn't want to do the same thing that I'd done with you, because I just knew that I had to do it. You know what I mean? So that's when I took redundancy from Walls, and that's when I started at the hospital, at Gloucester Royal Hospital. Okay. And I've been there ever since.
Okay, so differently, let's get into another chapter of it throughout the show. So just want to just highlight we're just gonna get into it. So what was it like? Obviously, me growing up, obviously seeing my dad quite a lot. Obviously knowing that you and my dad went together. Like I said to DK, was your father did in, you know what I mean? Did a out, same type of thing. See my, you know what I'm saying? Dad used to say, come round, see him, boom, 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 blah, blah, blah. So, because what people really don't know is me, what kind of broke the news to you about my father passing away, sadly, to say still. In a sense, it kind of been like your mother, you know, ringing to tell you about your father. But yeah, it was me. Crazy situation as well, at the time as well, when I think about it, because I was on the way to London. I was on the way to Carnival. Shout out to the man them as well, you know what I'm saying? What was there on the journey as well with me, you know what I mean? So yeah, so I had to break the news to you, Mum. So really haven't had this type of convo, but yeah, I had to kind of break the news to you. Yeah, it was just a bit kind of mad, but yeah, like I said, you and my dad, close relationship as well, knowing that you two wasn't together. And our previous guest, we were speaking about like, what was you saying, DK? We were saying like how your generation, like how the dads ain't with the mother them, but because obviously I got other brothers and sisters of my dad, you know what I mean? So, but everyone's still cool, you know what I'm saying? But like in the times we're living in, that not really can't go on. Not really.
Once you broke up, you're just done.
Yeah, it's
you
done,
don't really
innit?
talk to
So-
them again, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like how I've always seen that, like, dad can come round Christmas,
Yeah, every
you
standard.
got your man, whatever, no problem. No, there's no dynamics in it. So yeah, so what was it? Yeah, Mum. So what was it like really when I kind of broke the news to you and Yeah, Dad died still.
Well, I was in London myself.
You was in, because you was
I
in
was in
London. You was
London.
at, and I think you was at Antids or you was with Sue or one of them.
I was. And I remember the first thing I said to you when you rang, and I said to you, Damien, are you joking? You're being serious? And then it's like, it's only when you look back you think, why would I even say that? Because why would you even ring me and tell me such foolishness? But you, no joke or no joke. It's like you wouldn't even joke about something like that. And then it really, because the thing for me is the Saturday I spoke to him. Because, I was in London and,
that's what,
and I was at Auntie Lane's.
Because I seen him the day before.
Yeah,
because he was in club.
He was at Raglan, wasn't he?
No, Raglan closed by then.
What?
Raglan,
sure?
he was at Jamaican because
Okay.
I went to London on the Monday, and that's when he passed away on the Monday on his birthday. So I remember I was at club, brother. I think I only seen him for like our DK still, and I was like, yeah, save that, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I got a London still, okay, it was take too long. And then like literally, man said, yeah, come Carnival Monday. And then I just ignored my phone just for reason being, just going to London, innit? Can't bother to take no one's call and that, you know what I'm saying? By the time I just look, I see like,
phone probably ringing off.
50 missed call. I said, nah, this don't seem right. And then boom. Cause he just broke the news to me. And the driver just said, just pull over. That's when I broke the news to you. And then that's what it's kind of back and forth with you. Because I remember saying, because you were telling me to go back.
Back home?
Yeah, you were telling me to go. And I said, no, I ain't going back. I said, no, I can't go back. I said, Mum, I can't go back. Because the reason being is because of at that time, I just thought, yeah, Pops was just telling me to just ride out. Like, just ride out. Go and enjoy yourself, son, with your friend them. Yeah, just while I look or smoke, while I look or drink, and get back home safe, because a London carnival, you are go. That's why. That's the reason why. And remember, since then, I probably missed out like 3 carnivals because just like bring back memories and and then like I think I think after that I just said, you know what, let me just pick up myself. I said, yeah, let me go carnival. And then when I went, I kind of got the little chills. I got the little bit of chills. You get me, DK? Got the little chills. And then I just warmed in. I thought, yeah, nice. Still, this is like the only reason why I'm here is for my dad still. Because this was the place where I found out, well, go on. But yeah, Mum, so obviously you didn't take it easy with the news there, because I don't know where you was going. Was you on your way to...
No, I was actually just chilling. I was just chilling before I was going to go. And like I said, I spoke to him on the Saturday. And, because he I can't remember who rang who anyway. Because, as you said, me and your dad was very good friends. He was one of my best friends. Christmases is very, I can't remember, from, me and your dad really split from we were 17. Do you know what I mean? And I can't, obviously there was a period of time where, we just kind of wasn't, we were clashing, if that makes sense. But by the time I bought my house, me and him was safe. And not only that, but, I remember having a conversation with your dad about the past when he bought his house. I remember sitting around his yard and we was talking about back in the days, and we discussed there was no stone left unturned, let's put it that way. And it was, and from I had that conversation with him, I knew then that I understood him as a person relating to our history and our past. Let's put it like that. So, as I said, Curtis Batchelor was one of my confidants in life. He was there for me no matter what. As you said, no matter who I was with. It doesn't matter if I'm in...
It's still coming around,
But the thing is, the thing is, because he was your father, and because he was my friend, because he was one of my... I called him one of my soldiers. You know that no matter what, your dad would always be there for me, you know what I'm saying, to support, you know what I'm saying. And we lived good, as you said, Diane... with your sisters, from you guys were little bit, we was in each other's lives. because we got the photographs to prove that when you were babies, how even the one of when Diane took you, and that's how we lived. Because at the end of the day, and that's why I've got so much respect for her. Like, I've got the massive amount of respect for Diane Lewis, like I can't even tell you, because you seriously, when I say I have to humble myself in front of that woman, because she knows and I knows, because even if we go back to when I was 16 and pregnant, that's all I got to say is she knows and I knows, and I respect her for who she has always been and maintained. And I think maybe because of I don't know what it is, but obviously we've never had a bad word in front of each other about each other. Do you know what I mean? Never, ever, ever, ever. And that's why you and your sisters grew, because, it was something that we wanted. You cannot be in Gloucester and have your brother and sister and not grow and know that that's your brother and sister, and grow so that you got your memories and know that that is your fams. You know what I mean? You can't do that. If you lived in Scotland or Birmingham, and even the fact that you live in Birmingham.
Still, same way.
But you cannot be in the same town and do not know each other. That was never going to happen on my watch. Like, never. So, I'm just grateful that everything worked out according to God's plans, really. So, yes, I spoke to your dad the Saturday. He knew I went to London. I kind of went through that kind of breakup with the relationship I was in at the time. And your dad was once again checking in on me. Are you all right? And I said, yes. I said, me there London, me come for a carnival. He said, all right, me come, because he just sold his house, innit? And he was in London. That's right. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, how long are you in Gloucester for? He said, no, me there till Monday. He said, all right, me I come back. I said, no, he said he's down here for a week or something. And I said to him, all right, then I'm coming back on Monday after Carnival. I said I would check you when I come back, I said. And we ended on a really great note. Yeah, really great note. Obviously, you'll never forget the last words you said. And then when you rang, that's why I had to say that. What do you mean? I just spoke to him the other day. Do you know what I mean? He said he'd check me when he come back. So when you rang at first, until you go through it yourself, you can never really explain it. But it was slow motion after that. And then, as you said, my phone was started to go. The reality set in, but it's almost like I couldn't believe it. It's almost like I refused to believe it. So, and then you just kind of go into, I don't know where you go. You just go into wherever you go. And I just thought I got to get back home. And then when you told me you was going to London, it's like you just made me feel worse. Not made me feel worse, but I thought, what do you mean you're going to? What do you mean you're going Carnival? It's like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? And it was like,
still ready to go,
it was just too much. It was too much to take in. What do you mean he's passed? What do you mean? Hold on a minute. What? How? What do you mean he wasn't sick? No. So anyway, I remember the coach trip, and I'll never forget these things as long as I live. It was by the time I was coming home that the reality really was knocking at my door. It was almost like a constant knock, like, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Even though you're there saying it's not happening, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. Somebody made a mistake, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not. You wait, okay. When I got to Gloucester, I had to say to myself, it's only when I get to Gloucester I'm going to, don't care who's calling me, telling me nothing, I don't care. When I get home, then I'll deal with what is for real. But I sat on that coach, and I sat next to this Indian woman. That's all I remember. She was Asian, and I sat on the coach all the way down to Gloucester. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. I cried for the all 3 hours coach journey. I cried. And this woman, I don't even know her. I can vaguely remember what she looked like. All she done was she put her hand on me and she just said, "It's gonna be all right." That's all she's kept on, and she just held me like this for the 3 hours while I sobbed. And then I thought to myself, that's it now, Amanda. It's almost like you go into automatic mode. You said, that's it now. That's enough. Right. And so when I got to Gloucester, the reality really hit me. I could not believe it, Domain. I'm not going to lie. I couldn't believe it. But I felt I was already in shock. And then it was a case of automatic, I had to be strong for you. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, though, I think looking back at it, yeah, man. I rided it strong. Very strong.
I had to be strong for you.
Had to, as well, Trust me, brother.
I had to be strong for you, I thought. And then obviously,
It was hard. It was... little times was hard, but I think the times when I was by myself, like when I was proper by myself, I just said, yo, I'm locking off in my yard. just lock off. Like, I think I'd done it for like maybe, no word of a lie, maybe for like 2 solid weeks, just locked off. No one could ring me. And I wasn't even, and I just remember saying to myself, yo, don't turn to the alcohol in it, and don't turn to the hard drugs in it, because this is what people is gonna kind of expecting. Oh, him go start drinking, him just going farther, and you know what I'm saying. I'm just thinking, yeah. And I was thinking, I can't let my family down, let alone brothers and sisters, and then I just thought, just lock off, and you know what? Then I just literally just shedded the most amount of tears until, and I always say, even when I go to his gravestone, I always say to myself, I wish I could cry and let them out, but I cried so much. Like, it's only me. Like, I know there's probably some people that can probably relate and say, you know what, I kind of understand that, because like I cried so much, let it all out, like until I was, you know, till sweat, until water's dripping off me. Like, it was like that. And I think, like I said, I can go to the gravestone now and not shed a tear. I might get a little, you know what I'm saying, but I ain't gonna. That's gone. Like, it's gone because I let out everything what I needed to let out.
And time has passed.
And time's passed.
Now.
Yeah, and like a lot of time's passed, and obviously, and still obviously it's in my heart, same way.
Of course,
you know what I'm saying?
Like forever. But that was, you know, because I still got my parents. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
I'm
this
very
is
blessed to still have my
and,
parents.
Yeah, and plus I think that as well played a big part as well, knowing that I still got my grandparents to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, yo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously my father's my father, but I still got my grandparents to do.
Yeah.
So I've definitely got to be strong.
But
I
I think it was a shock of it because he was such a young man. He was only 46. He was a young man. It's not like to say he was in hospital and he was sick. You know, he went out, he enjoyed himself. What happened to him could happen to anybody, to be quite honest. Depended upon certain, symptoms or conditions. Not saying I don't want to scare people, but you know, like I said, without disclosing everything, but he was out enjoying himself the Saturday night. innit? And that's what I will say this until I pass, until I see him. He had to do it like that. He had to go on his birthday. I don't know anybody who goes on their birthday.
Because where he passed, he passed up someone's yard and that, you know what I'm saying? And it was me out of everyone, bruv. It was me what had to go there still.
To the yard?
Yeah, to go to the yard still.
I didn't know that until today.
Yeah, because the sisters them, daddy's girl them, they're too weak, mum.
Yeah,
they was emotional.
Of course.
The brothers them.
They were youngers as well.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're one of the oldest,
and I was,
you see.
you know, and plus as well, she was expecting me anyway because my dad already spoke to her about me, but she didn't know who I was until suddenly, you know what I'm saying, knock her door. And then I had to ask her, yo, what really? Because you know what I'm saying? I had to ask her, what
really happened, yeah.
Yeah, she just said literally the same thing. Like, yeah, he was out Saturday, come back, asked him for like a coffee. He was upstairs. She was downstairs. She just said, boom. That was it. Gone. Bam. That was it. You know? But fair play to her though still because she was scared.
Well,
So I got to give it to her because she was very scared. She was like, "Oh, I didn't want to open the door to your sisters, or obviously I knew he's got sons and daughters." And then bam, here we go. I got a little sister. Then bam, here we go. Bam, here we go. I got a little sister as well. So it's like, okay, this is all kind of mad, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's just, but obviously, like you said, time's passed. Time's a healer as well.
Time's a healer. The thing is that you'll never forget. Do you know what I mean? And it was 2010, so it's 12 years now. Well, this year will be 12 years. Yeah. But time heals because obviously with life comes death. None of us is exempt. We just have to just pray and hope that we all live for a fruitful, long life. Because as you know, there's many that's gone younger than him. That's gone. Some didn't even make it to their 30s.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I just look at it that God knows everything. You know, and it was his time. It was his time. We didn't want to lose him at that time, but God needed him more. That's how I look on him. And I think I was just more concerned for you and the girls. Do you know what I mean? Because to lose, I still had my parents. So I was, you know, even though I can empathize, for you guys to lose your father at such a young age, do you know what I'm saying? Because you was young, and you know what I'm saying, and you're not the youngest, you're one of the oldest, and your father was young. So to lose your father at such a young age, and you were young as well, to deal with that emotionally, psychologically, I was so concerned. My worry was on you. Like, I think that was one of the hardest times probably in my life. It's the aftermath is because of my concern for you, because of who you are, Cage. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, obviously we talk and everything else, but do you know what I mean? Like, you know, your tat started with your dad, you know, and I remember one time I even remember said to you, but hold on a minute, what, when me dead, where you gonna put me? And you said, oh, I got my hands. I thought, oh great. So the little spears pan the back of your hand, you got put mommy pan the look. And you know what I mean? Where you gonna put me? Because the wall you started, you never had one tattoo on you before your father passed, and the minute your father passed, you went through this.
But like I said, that was to do with my own. That
was your way. And the thing is, you know, like I said, you know, the things you don't know is the silent worry that the family was worrying. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we was all worried. You know, sometimes people were saying to me, yo, I saw Domain going to the cemetery at this time. What do you mean I do the cemetery at that time? Like, Jesus God. So, in the end, I had to allow you to do your own grieving. Because as much as I wanted to swaddle you and say, no, don't go up the cemetery them time, we had up there with your backside, yeah.
But nobody wasn't coming out to duffing me.
But the thing is, you know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, as you know, when you got children...
yeah, of course. Your
children will always be your children.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter how much, you know, your children leave home, you will always have that for your children.
Sometimes cemeteries look at us, just jump over the fence, just jump over.
Seriously.
Hey, she's got them with one little torch, brother.
Like I said to me, one and two people did ring me and Domain did. But like I said, I did come to you a couple of times. You know what I mean? I kind of spoke to you and whatever. But you had to do your own grieving. But we got through it. Do you know what I mean? We got through it, and I feel honoured that I was there to support your sisters when they asked me to. Do you know what I mean? And you know, it is. I'm just glad we had a good life, Curtis and I. I'm glad the last conversation we had was a great conversation, and I'm glad we had a good life. And he lives on because he lives on through all of us. Do you know what I mean? And even though I know you got your other brothers and everything else, but for me, like, if you put on just a bit more weight, you would just be like, sometimes you would frighten me normally. You know, like, you know, seriously. No, you know, sometimes Janai catches me, I'm like, Janai, gosh almighty, I thought, didn't you do? Do you know what I mean? It's just funny, you know, because it's how none of my children don't look like me. You more got your father's genes.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, your father was slim when he was your age. So every time I look at you, obviously I see your father.
I get it all the time. I get it all the time.
I know Brandon and Quint. I know Brandon looks a lot like your dad. And obviously your sisters, you know, obviously, you know, Sean's, Neeks, and even Neeks, Keela got her looks that, you know, very similar to your dad. But they're girls. Do you know what I'm saying? But like I said, Brandon looks like your dad very much so, and Quinton has got but you got his mannerism. Your fingernails are the same as his.
Even all the laugh and all that.
The same way in fingertips, everything. So, you know, he lives
the proper
on.
DNA.
He lives on through his children, and he lives on in our hearts, and that's how it is. That's evolution in itself in life, how it is revolving in itself. You know, because one day I'm not going to be here.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? And you got your children now. You got children as well? Okay, not yet. I'm glad you said that. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? You know, once you have children, it's a whole different genre altogether. You know, so we just have to just capture those moments, because we just don't know. And with this COVID situation, and with so much people dropping off in the last 2 years, I'm frightened to hear who's next. Do you know? And as I said, there's people we know that as in the last 3 years, young people who's passed.
We good on them. Yeah. Good till 9 it runs out anyway. So
till 9. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Carry on.
So yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I just have fond memories of him, and sometimes I talk to him. Many a times I talk to him out loud. I don't care. I'm in the house on my own, and even when I'm not in the house on my own, I'll be like, now sometimes when we have a little, little drink on a Saturday night, I'll be like, cheers, Curtis. Do you know what I mean? So he never passed, and that's because he, to me, like I said, we our relationship ended on a great note. So I will always have that love in my heart for him, no matter what. And I will never feel ashamed to say it. And, that's why whoever I was with, I always introduced him and say, this is my son's father. You accept me, you have to accept him. Because as you know, he was always around. He was always around, because I was not prepared to, if I met somebody and said, you can't talk to your baby father and all that kind of foolish. No! It's my son's father. Like, hello. Do you know what I'm saying? And he was here before you anyway. So furthermore, that is my son's father. That's how it goes. Standard. For real. So yeah, like I said, and he also was one of the first deaths in the family that was very close to home, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even though I lost my grandparents, but remember, I didn't grow with them because they were in Jamaica. So it was that was my first time and even though like we lost members like, God rest his soul, Brother Joe, which is Auntie Doris's husband, it was still kind of different, if you understand what I'm saying. So with Curtis, he was the first one that was that first sort of, where, you feel like your stuffing's been knocked out of you, that sort of feeling. But, he lives on because we're mentioning him now, and Daddy B's name will always be remembered through Stereo Downbeat, of course. And it's nice that we got little clippets of him on video clips so we can still hear his voice. So thank God for all these devices that we got now that we can listen to people who's passed, and we can play a little video and, just have a little memories and do a little whatever and everything else. So, yeah. And I'm proud that... I'm very proud of the fact as well that my Jamar, my grandson, he obviously wasn't here to meet his granddad, but I'm proud that he knows his granddad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm proud that the other day when he was, I had him the other day and he was saying to Jaheem, one of the photographs, and he was going, Daddy, Granddad, this is your granddad, Jaheem. And it's like, it makes me feel proud because, just because Curtis never met your children, but your children know him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? They know him. So, and he's watching, looking down upon us, of course. You know what I'm saying? He's looking, and I think to myself, in some ways, Lord, if he was around, how would I rough up for you two by them by now, for them rough man, he was rough with you, and he was a rough man with kids, and just rough. Him hand them tough and them big, and him just rough. So, you have that roughness. When I see you roughing up Jamal, that's why I have to say stop it, because I used to have to do that to you to protect you when he was roughing you when you was little. I say, stop roughing up Demay, stop roughing him up like that, man. You know what I mean? He's only a baby, he's only little. So when you see me saying it to you and you're doing it with Jamal, it's because
the DNA.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So what are you saying? We've got about all right. So let's talk about obviously talking about the NHS. So those might be not familiar. Thinking about why do you keep talking about NHS? You work for the NHS. COVID was here. COVID gone. But yeah. So when COVID was here, it was just everywhere, bam, bam, bam. It was, what I'm saying, throughout the NHS and those things there. Then it got to a period where they said about the vaccination is here. If you don't take the vaccination, no
vax, no job.
Yeah, no vaccination, no job. So just want to just run down that one there quickly, because I've seen obviously you and your local crew them at work was kind of, battling out the thing. And
at the end of the day,
you survived the battle.
Yeah, praise God. I have to give the Most High the praises unto that, for real, because it's only him that made it possible. And thank God, it's almost like I kept my faith. That's all I can say. That's why faith can move mountains. And you have to live in a hope to the bitter end. As me said, the bitter end. Because for me, working in the hospital through COVID, you get your first class viewing of everything. The fact that I was working in a COVID study for the Public Health of England, so obviously I'm privy to information that the general public's not privy to. And obviously I work in research, and I've been working in research now for 8 years. So some of the things that was coming in with the vaccine, it went against my morals and it went against the ethics that I've learned through the job and everything else, like the MHRA and the Health Regulatory Authority and everything else. and how they've pushed everything through so fast. And okay, I get it. People were dying. But for me to put a vaccine in my body, that, whether people want to admit this or not, but it is fact, because you have to sieve this nonsense from this sense. The vaccine, when it was first introduced, it's literally research. They're trying it out because it's not been tried on anybody else. So why am I I'm not volunteering for that, basically. I'm not volunteering for that.
No guinea pig.
Yeah.
And well, it's not even so much guinea pig, because I am for research. I am 100% for research, and I'm cancer research. So if it wasn't for research and all the innovative drugs where we are today, from research from 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, then we wouldn't be where we are. If, a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Henrietta Lacks, where they took her DNA in Atlanta back in the 50s, or if I'm right to say, Google her, Henrietta Lacks, her DNA to this day, they removed it from her, a black woman from Atlanta. She's got immortal genes. And to this day, her genes are being used in research, and has been used in nearly every medicinal product that you can think of, to where it is now, until the family is still fighting lawsuits. Because when they took her gene, they didn't. But you can find this information out on Google. So to me, research is great, and cancer research is great. But with this COVID thing, no, I had to link it spiritually. I had to link, because nothing wasn't making no sense through COVID period. There's too much information coming from the government. I said this foolishness. They must say it come from China. They must say it come from bat, dog, pig, everything. Nobody don't know nothing. Then they're saying they're connecting it to the Spanish influenza flu back in 1946. So why are we taking a virus if we've already been here before? You know what I mean? So what is this all about? Then you're linking everything. You have to almost be awake. If not, because if you close your eyes too long, you're going to miss it. And you have to. It's almost like joining the dots. Then you heard about, what's his name, the one who owned Google selling it. What's his name? Bill Yates and all that. Bill Gates. Then you started hearing about this vaccine. Before the vaccine even came out, the first year of COVID, mind you, stuff started to get leaked about vaccine. You thought, hold on a minute, what on? And then you start hearing about this, and then you hear about this. And we say, okay, so you have to really check it. Then when you start reading your scriptures, and you start putting everything together, and then when you realise how things were being passed through so quickly, but hold on a minute, when people were dying of Ebola, and it wasn't, and the third world wasn't affected, why did nobody do anything to save these people that were living in poor countries? You know why? Because it never affected them. So now that the Western world had been affected, everybody's jumping through fire and hoops. And I thought, I'm not jumping through fire. Listen, I didn't say I would never take the vaccine, but I wasn't going to be up that front, hands up. Yeah, I'm going to have it. I have no... anybody who decides to have a vaccine, that's their prerogative. You know, I've got no prejudice against anybody or no judgments against anybody who wants to take the vaccine. That is your personal choice. But when you start telling me, and it almost made me feel like even though I was never alive in the slave days, but trust me, I feel the spirits of my ancestors. It's almost like you're trying to, what, are we back in slave days where you're telling me what I have to put in my body? You're forcing me. And it was that key word. You're forcing me to put something in my body. And if anything happened to me, are you going to be the one to come and look after me? Are you going to come to my home? If I pass away, are you going to look after my children for the rest of their lives like what I would do if I was living? Are you going to comfort my children? Is the government going to come knock on your door and say to you, Domain, I'm so sorry that your mum took the vaccine and she was one of those who had a side effect and she passed away no. So and then they have the cheat to say that you're forcing me, no vax, no job. So hold on a minute, I've been in this trust looking after people for 20 years. And you're telling me if I don't take the vaccine, I was good enough to work up until, because it was February, it was January was the deadline, because we had to have the first vaccine by February, I think it was the 11th or 4th, and the second one by April.
Yeah.
And the stress it caused me, it's no wonder I caught COVID, because my whole body was in turmoil. Because I had to seriously, consciously say to myself, and that's why I had to take it to God in the end, because I couldn't mentally. I have to say that's the only thing that nearly tipped me to the edge. Do you know what I mean? Because I was in a position where if I don't take this vaccine, everything I've worked my life for was going to be taken away from me, basically. Literally taken away. Why? Because I don't go and put this injection in my body. In my body, where at the time, if you went on the government website, the list of side effects was humongous. And fact, at that point this year, I know that nearly 1,500 people had died from the vaccine. I know that there was over 2.5 million people with side effects.
Mad, isn't it?
I already knew those information. So these information that I already knew, and so the knowledge that I knew connected to my spirituality, then connected to somebody telling me that you have to take this vaccine, but yet still you've signed a clause that my family can't come knocking on your door later on to claim anything. You caused Amanda's death by, of course I'm going to be worried about this, because this is something that you're putting in my body, which is man-made. I rather have caught the vaccine naturally and take my chances. If I saw me, I got dead, then I saw me, I got dead. If it was written so when we was born, I got died 2022 in the ITU because of COVID, then I saw it, I got go. But don't force me. It's when people try to control me like that, that's when I resist. So I literally thought about it, and that's why I said to Mummy Christmas Day, and I said to Mummy and Daddy on the Christmas table, Mummy, Daddy, if I got to sell my house, can I come and live back home? Because I got to go to my parents rather than go to a stranger. Do you know what I mean? And when Daddy said, yes, come, that was all I needed. Because I was prepared. I had to put my faith in God and say, God, whatever you've got planned for me, I'm scared. I don't want to lose everything that I worked for. Do you know what I mean? But if it's for the sake of what I believe, then I'm gonna have to dig in. I'm gonna have to dig in and just, something would work out. At the end of the day, we have one roof. Mommy and Daddy said me can come back home. You know what I mean? When we sell the house, we'd have to go eat. Me have to go eat half of that little bread until the little bread run out. You know what I mean? But somehow, at least me have bed for lay down in a roof over my head. That's why me look upon it, because at the end of the day, many people ain't got no roof over their head. At least I had a little backup plan. Of course. Some people never had no backup plans. So me and my girl Jenny and Claire, Cynthia, we were all friends in the NHS. Cynthia's private. You know what I'm saying? But me and Jenny, we was like, God bless Jenny and her little man, because trust me, we were on it like bonnets on a car. We went to Teams meeting, this, that. Me gossip manager at work, top manager at work, have conversation, tour conversation. Them I try persuade them, hunt me down like a. They were hunting me. They were hunting, and this is what I did. Like I felt like an animal. They was trying to force me to take this vaccine. And the more you try and force me and everything else, I just give it to them. Listen, the Most High I'm waiting on, and. They can't deal with those type of conversation when you talk about God. From you bring God into a professional conversation,
they don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say. So I use that for basically to let them stop asking me the question. But what irritated me was when other people now come and brought their views on me. And why are you not taking the vaccine? No, you're being irresponsible. One of these doctors told me about I was being irresponsible. It's only because I was at work. How I wanted to shut her a box because I thought, you don't know me. And for you to say, but I'm being irresponsible, hold on a minute, once again, when other things was going on in the world and black people, our people of colour, was suffering, I'm still waiting to hear anything. But now you're telling me, but I'm responsible, and oh this and oh that. So anyway, thank God, as I said, me and Jenny, the Sunday night, I'll never forget the joy. Me and Jenny, like I said, my life was consumed by this vaccine. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh. All right. It was literally, I couldn't think about my future. I couldn't think about a tomorrow because I didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. Because if I had the vaccine, because I remember saying to Jenny, I can't. What am I going to, supposing if we're the ones, we was working ourselves into frenzies. Do you know what I'm saying? I couldn't think about next week. I couldn't plan for my future because I didn't know how my future. Would I have to sell the house? Would I be living? What would they said if you don't have the vaccine, then you wouldn't be able to claim benefits for 3 months and all this kind of stuff. I was thinking, right, I had to rethink every wire in my brain to think about my life. That Sunday night when me and Jenny were a little man sent us a link and it said, the government's going to say you don't have to take the vaccine because there were 77,000 of us NHS workers, mind you, and the government knew that 77,000, they can't risk to lose 77,000 people.
Big number.
The
It's a big
NHS
number.
is already on its bloody knees. What do you want us on our toenails now? You know what I'm saying? So that consultant, that WhatsApp video where the consultant, where the health secretary, the health secretary, yeah, where the health secretary went to the hospital and was challenging a consultant who was working in ITU. And I tell him both, it's safe for you to have the vaccine, but the consultant said, well, all I me, I work in an ITU from dear data, I may not get it. Why do I need it? Who am I protecting? But we all know the reason. We all, trust me, just like back in the 60s when they gave pregnant women thalidomide and told them to take this tablet for anti-sickness. And what it does, children were being born with deformities.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, and
yeah.
it was 40 years later where they owned up to it. Government owned up to it that we were wrong. We should have given it to women. That's all I'm saying. So at the end of the day, when we got that news to say it was going to come, me and Jenny would drink our right rum that the Sunday night. Just say we drink. How we are going to work our money with no business, Serious. It's sweet me. You see how when we go to work, put on my email. I'll email from the top people. Seems like God worked in your favour. Steve Ham said, yes, Steve Hams, I email him back. Yes, God is good all the time. We type back to him. It was one of the joyous moments of my life. It was like, oh, thank you, God. I couldn't stop thanking God. For the 24 hours of that day, I couldn't stop thanking God. And you see, when I woke up the Monday morning and heard it on GFM, I knew it was for real. It was almost like, when you're doing a dance, like to say, don't have to take the vaccine. It was one of the sweetest moments. I felt free. Then I could stop thinking about my life. I thought, oh my gosh, I can think about tomorrow now. Oh my gosh, I thought I can live now. But before I couldn't think. I just could not think at all. So that was a hard time, man. It was a horrific time. So for those of us who went through it, it weren't no joke things. It was serious things. Because once you put it in your body, it's not to say you flush it out. It stays there. And, the scientificness behind everything as well, that's fact. So you can say what you want to say. But, yeah, like I said, you got to do what's right for you. And I just didn't want to be not to make it mandatory. I'm already there in the NHS. What are you making it mandatory for? Is it going to affect how I'm going to care for patients? No. Do you know what I mean? If anything, I should be worried that I'm going to catch it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm not worried. I had COVID and I'm here.
And you're still here.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Let my body naturally do it.
Yeah.
And that's my choice. That's my choice. At the end of the day, the government's trying to control my life and they think that they're doing us a favour. Why didn't you do me a favour from when I was 5 years old? Why you want to step into my life now and tell me to put something into my body at my age? No, hell bloody no. And look what's come out in the end. They were liars because when them I tell people to stay at home and be safe, them they are party. Yeah. So that you know what I'm saying. You just have to just use your own mind. And as I said, I read the Bible and the Bible tells you about these things. Here we are now, and once again, 2020. When I went to work and told people about, sooner or later them I got to put them invented little chip. They laughed at me. Oh, Mandy, you're so over the top.
You probably got it with the COVID jab.
We already know that. We already know that in certain countries they already
They have in like in
they've got
Switzerland or something.
Switzerland and
like
America.
And Sweden
They've
or
got it
something
already.
like that.
So how long do you think before it becomes standard? Look at this currency thing that's going on. They're trying to do the thing is, things happen, and this is what the Maccabee Bible told us all.
We can't even get into all that Maccabee because we've got a couple minutes left.
We can run over time, man.
Yeah? Oh, okay, then. Yeah, go on, man. Carry on.
All these things that we were learning about from the Maccabee Bible, which obviously some of it's in that's why I only read the King James. I won't read no other Bible. You know what I mean? If I get my hands on a Maccabee. But all the things, trust me when I tell you this now. You see, when I started going to church when I was 7, you see all the things that I was being taught then. And that's over 40 odd years ago.
Happening now.
It's happening now, So you have to wise up what's going on. Because at the end of the day, remember, this new world, new order, people who they classify as below that line, do you think they're going to business by us? That's why we have to be militant and be awake. That's why the Bible says we shouldn't be like sleeping shepherds. We have to be awake to see what's going on around us for real. Because things are happening around us. Things are moving so quick now.
We don't even know what.
We don't even know what going on. Unless you
Mm.
actually Google it and do things yourself, don't expect it to be on news, some of the things that's going on.
Of course.
Serious, that's how quick things are going on. So I don't trust the government. That's why another reason why I didn't take the vaccine.
Okay.
I don't trust, because we never hear one of them, I actually see one of them live take it themselves.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Anybody seen them actually draw it up, put the needle in,
and squish it
any of
in
the
them.
politicians' hands, and then put a plaster on, and then did anybody? I can't remember seeing no footage of not one of them. But yet still they're telling us to go. I remember when they first took it. Remember when COVID first came out, when they had the, because like I said, the data to say that, black people can't catch COVID. Do you remember when that first, remember when COVID
that's
first
what they were saying, when it first
came
came out,
I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they wanted black people to be the first people to go and have the vaccine. Really? And then, see how you have to really sieve. You know when you cook rice and you have to pick out the black bits. This is what you have to do, because remember, and then through all of a sudden, middle of June 2020, they're saying that we were more disproportionate and catching COVID most. Well, if you had any common sense, the thing is, numbers, we're ruled by numbers in this world. Everything is numbers. Numbers will follow you from your the day you're born, to the day you die. Numbers control everything. And at the end of the day, you really have to, I think it's only through maturity I'm beginning to clock certain things that maybe I didn't clock, or I was too busy with other things. But it's a long time it's been going on, how they've pulled the wool over our eyes, and now, because we got so much devices that capture so much things, it's not so easy to get away with it, but they're still getting away with it.
Yeah, of course.
For real. So for me, it was a lot of things to do with this COVID nonsense, because if we think that that's the only influenza we're going to get in this lifetime, think again. And you see, the thing is now we're on booster 5, ain't we?
I ain't got a clue.
I don't even know how many boosters there is. Booster 5.
I'm not even going to have the conversation about children, because that's just going to probably draw me down a different bad road. Seriously. But we're now on booster 5. So me want to know, say, if you go booster your body up, remember our body's the greatest mechanism. We're greater than animals. So remember, we look how long we've been living. Centuries. Centuries before even medication came in. And then we have boosted ourselves up for influenza. So what, you're going to let your body rely on medication? So what do you think is going to happen in 20 years' time when you're always going to have to rely on medication?
Yeah, you're going to need a booster.
You're going to need it. You're going to need a booster for the rest of your life, because your body can't even function normally.
Yeah, for real.
Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to wonder, what's the agenda behind this? What's the agenda behind this? Now we've got Russia and Ukraine going on, and people coming over. Bearing in mind, they didn't want to take nobody before Russia and Ukraine, man. You remember them? Remember the whole reason why the Brexit thing collapsed is because them said, don't want a foreigner, yeah? Them no one. That's why people vote for Brexit, because it always almost reminded me of when my parents came to England. They didn't want the foreigners here. So remember, everybody was tired of, these people are coming over taking our jobs. Taking what jobs? The jobs what you didn't even want yourselves. Some of them. Do you know what I mean? So this Western superior, whether they want to be subconscious about it or not, it don't work with me no more, because it works when it suits them. Because Russia and Ukraine isn't the only war that's been going on. When the war was going on all over the world and everybody else, all these people that's died across the seas trying to get the Afghan and all these other places, Uganda and all these other places, why weren't what isn't people? But all of a sudden now, you see how Russia and Ukraine. I'm not saying that they shouldn't highlight war, because war is atrocities, and you think they would learn from the Second World War. But hear what though? Look what's going on, and yet still they're bringing in people from Ukraine and Russia. But yet still they were already moaning before Russia and Ukraine. They were saying that we were already overpopulated and everything. But so you have to wonder, what is the agenda? Because this is just a start of what's going to happen in 5 years' time. Things don't just happen overnight. That's the realization I've come to as I mature. There's things that it's almost like a cup of tea. When you make a cup of tea, you put the tea bag in the cup, you pour the water in, and you wait for it to brew, so you low it, then you drink it. It's the same metaphor with what's going on with everything. That's why I don't trust the government. And you have to open your own eye and read the signs around you. Wagwan. It's the same thing. That they drop that bag, they pour that water on that tea bag long time. All they're doing is watching it brew. That's all they're watching it now is brew. Seriously. So whether or not some people's theory is because, the world is overpopulated, because it is. It is overpopulated. And the conversation that I'm going to say now, this conversation wasn't being said today. It was said 10 years, 20 years ago, because you can Google it and hear these conversations where they had these strategies, how to depopulate the world, and their theories and everything else and everything else and everything else, and all these power people and everything else. And these things are not joke things. These are real things. It's only because we go on our day-to-day life, 9 till 5 job, going out, drinking, having a good time, that the ones that are overseeing us, that's why we as a people, that's why I believe we as a black race, we as a people, we need to have our own for our own, so we control our own, do our own, for our own. Nobody can tell us turn left, turn right, stand or sit. That's why you feel own your own, have your own, build your own, so that the government don't use, and that's what taught me through this flipping COVID crisis, the fact that I'm under the government. I feel like a puppeteer for the government. That means if the government said that people who work for the NHS have to cut off their right hand and right foot for work, then want us to cut off our right hand and right foot, not the backside. You have to try and this is why I'm all for, black people doing things for themselves. I'm all for people trying to become their own entrepreneurs and striving and building their own empire for themselves, because that way nobody tells you what to do. You're your own boss. And that's where the power is for our people. We were kings and queens in the beginning, so we just need to just claim back, basically, what was rightfully ours, and that's mindfully ours. Never mind about what they come and rob from us materialistically, but because we always had that mindset of being the superior ones anyway. It's only through the oppression that they oppress that in our heads for us now to be where we are. But we are striving forward and moving forward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like your generation, Jamar's generation, do you know what I'm saying? The youngers. See, once we inbred them and feed them that information, you see the Nigerians, some of the Africans, they get it. They get where they need to get to own their own, be their own, and empower their own, and have their own. We're just a little bit behind because we was born in this Western world where you see the Africans, they were born in, some of them in poverty. So if you give them, when we have the cake and the cream, we just kind of look at it, it's only cake and cream, but for them glad for the cake. Them know what to do with the cake. Them turn that the cake into something else more than just cake and cream. Do you know what I'm saying? So their mental thinking is different because they've come from hardship. So they know what it means to have a little bit and and to expand on that. So that's what we need to do, and that's why I'm all for my people at the end of the day. I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I should have born in the 60s. I reckon I would have been shot dead because I would have been there. Yes, of course I would have been there, seriously. But it is what it is. As I said, my spirits of my past are within me. And it's within all of us, mind you, because we are, as I said, we are the chosen people. From you have a drop of melanin in you. If you even Google how much is an ounce of melanin, I don't know how they quantified it to put it on Google, to be quite honest. I don't know how they quantified it to put it on Google, but we know that melanin is the most expensive. And I don't know why they use the word mineral, because it's not something you can drain from us and put it in a bottle and sell it. Because I'm sure if that was the case, most of us would be draining be on a bit of IV throughout the night and drain it and sell it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But it's, for me, as I'm getting mature in life, it's about empowerment, empowering myself and empowering others. And now that my 2 children have grown, that's you and Crept it, because I'm sure you would like to use his real name. It's about, for me now, through everything I've been through, and I've you know, gained and lost and learnt and everything else, is to make sure God's blessed me now to see my grandchildren, and I'm even more I'm more determined to fight the power for them, because their granddad is not here. So it's like I got to be team player for two, so to speak, because your dad was very militant. He's very cultured. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's for us to pass it on to that generation. It's almost like giving them the ladder. It's not even the stool now. It's giving them the ladders. They see it there, climb it and go on, basically.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay, then. All right, then. Well, I appreciate you for coming through, you know, Mum, still.
It's a good one.
For passing through the show and that. Giving the people them some wisdom and some power and all them sitting them here every time, every day.
Got two, man. Got two, man.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, big up yourself, Mum. Obviously, you're not on socials and that. She not dep on them sitting in the bed.
I ain't got time.
She's not on
I'm
Facebook
too busy looking
and
after
Instagram.
your children.
I know that now. She's not even doing that either. You know them ones as well.
Don't lie to me.
But yeah, she don't talk. She don't talk.
No.
But yeah, she on no socials and that. So those who know her, yeah. Already know. Those who don't know, I'm a mother, aka Amanda Mills. Yes, when you see her, just give her one big up like how you lot do anyway. And
But you know,
yeah.
I dropped. Sorry to cut you, DJ Cage. But you know, I dropped the slave name still. You know that still, and that's why I dropped it, because I already researched it. I know it's my dad's, but respect to Daddy still. But even Daddy knows it comes from the you know, there used to be an owner, and he was a plantation owner,
Okay.
Mr. Mills.
Okay.
Yeah, a flower. He was, and the thing is, if you go to Jamaica, you can read all about our history from there. So you know, I am originally Amanda Mills, but I do go by, you know, I know I'm divorced, but I keep my Ital name for the reason of dropping the slave name, Selassie.
All right, so she just dropped that one in there, but me a bachelor, so you know how the thing going. Yeah.
For real.
So yeah, people, man, respect to everyone was tuned in. As you know already, we'll be back again as per usual. And don't forget to subscribe to the thing, drop likes, hit us up in the comments and them thing there. And yeah, people, man, hope you enjoyed that one. Your boy Cage is out, DK's out. And yeah, to listen back to the previous shows and watch them, like I said, YouTube, the
They're
thing.
all there on YouTube,
And all
Spotify.
of that, and Spotify, yeah. So you don't know the same message that I always give you lot. Stay safe, stay blessed, and you don't know we are out.